Well, hello there. This is Ryan Acidheads Murphy, the creator of this game, Jack to the Future. And most people aren't willing to do this sort of commentary for their games, but I'm going to consider this kind of like the commentary that they might do on a movie or something. But also, just a unique thing that I can do that other game makers probably wouldn't or couldn't do. Being able to do a playthrough, being willing to do a playthrough, and just tell stories about how the game got made, what's went into the game, what's behind some of the stuff that's in it. Just secrets, just the thoughts about the game, how you can play it better if you want tips and tricks, that sort of thing. So, since there's quite a bit of dialogue here right at the beginning, and I would imagine you've probably either watched me, this video the first time through, or you've played the game yourself, and now you want to learn more about what went into making it, or what I was thinking when I made it. I figure if you're watching this, you're not concerned with spoilers too much. So the initial idea, the backstory here, if you haven't watched the info for the game, the video I put up, but right before or after I put the game up on Game Jolt, is that quite a while back, we're probably talking a year and a half, 2 years ago, I became aware of RPG Maker after watching. Actually, I think I became aware of it before I ever saw anything about it, because I was just looking for some ways to make games. Because wanting to make games has been a goal of mine for quite some time, but all of my concepts that I have are way beyond anything that I could do personally. I would need a budget and a team and, professional company to actually pull any of those off. So I've been wanting to find a way to kind of ease into making games that I could actually do. I've looked at things like Unity and some of the others, and those were just too involved. Too many things that you can do, too many options, too many places to go. I needed something a little bit simpler. Plus, I just have a work style that I get distracted easy. It's a weakness. So my best bet for getting anything accomplished is a program like RPG Maker that lets me play to my strengths and just go. Because that's kind of the way I do things, is that I need to just be able to jump in and go for it. Something like Unity, I will just sit there staring at it forever trying to think of something to do with it. It's just too many options. I need something that has enough options to let me, to explore and advance and learn, but enough limitations that I don't get so overwhelmed in the possibilities that I just give up, because I cannot focus on any one thing long enough to get anything accomplished. RPG Maker has that, that kind of weird mix that really works for me. So, continuing from there, I had come across it, but I didn't have any solid ideas for an RPG at the time. I just wasn't sure what I could make. So I kind of set it aside. Then I started watching Markiplier's videos for a while, and he played a game made with it, a fan game. So I started looking at it again. I thought, a fan game, that would be something simple to get my teeth, to cut my teeth, get my feet wet with RPG Maker, but I could not think of anything to do. I could not think of anything I could do with Markiplier that I wanted to do. And all of the fan game videos that I saw him play were kind of restrictive to me, in that they were all based around Markiplier. It was always based around things that he had done, his videos, games he had played, things he had done, always. So that kind of made me feel like, okay, nobody's going to accept anything really off the wall that I would probably do. I wasn't sure how I could use it to do a fan game for him, so I set it aside again and started, I went back to working on other things, writing, music. And then I started watching Jacksepticeye's videos, and he played one. It may have been Jack Venture or Jacksepticeye Paradox or something, one of the two. but it had a really different story. It was not rooted entirely in things that he had done. It was an original story that involved Jacksepticeye and company, friends and stuff. So it's like, oh, I can do that. I can actually make something original, but include the YouTubers in it. So that allowed me to just kind of sit down and start trying to brainstorm what I could do. And this probably seemed kind of weird, but the first thought I had was, how can I really make Jacksepticeye the core of the game without having to do the entire thing as references just to him? So the first thing I came up with was his catchphrase, which is "like a boss." So as you watch through this, if you've played through the entire game by yourself and not noticed this, you'll probably go, holy shit, when you hear me say this. All of the maps form the letters LIKEABOSS. Okay, there's 9 cells, 9 map cells for every single area of the game. That's why there's 9 areas of the game, because there's 9 letters in "like a boss." That was the original platform, the base that I jumped off of for everything else. That's why it went from what was just going to be a few maps and something real simple to a much bigger, almost, basically a full-length game. So again, you see here, there's branches. The N is always kind of off on its own area. This one has the bridges. But for the most part, the main map cells, there's always exactly 9 main map cells, and they always form a letter corresponding to its position in the phrase "like a boss." So that was, as I said, my springboard, my aha, the thing that I came up with to base the entire game around. So after that, it was just a matter of trying to decide how I was going to fill out the game. I'm a big fan of satire and parody and spoof, that form of comedy, like Adventure Brothers, Futurama, Dr. Strangelove, anything like that I've always been kind of fond of. I'm a big fan of lots of different kinds of comedy, so the next thought I had was, okay, RPG, satire, and parody. That's kind of a natural progression for me anyway. It's something I've been thinking of doing. I don't take things very seriously. And it to the point that it annoys me when other people take things like games especially seriously, because they're just games. So it's like, you're taking a game real seriously, that's kind of stupid. Working on a game, that's fine. It's one of those weird nuance things, just how you think of it, because, making a game, that's your work. You take your work seriously, but you don't have to take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? You can have fun. So I tend to enjoy the satirical comedy, parody sort of things a lot more than things that take themselves deadly serious, which does come off as pretentious bullshit. So again, satire and parody just kind of fit me to a T. So that gave me a framework. So I'm going to do this thing with Jacksepticeye, with, an RPG. There's going to be 9 lands for the 9 letters. The maps for each area or land are going to form the letters. Then there's kind of the dungeons, which are actually all either going up or down. So you could even consider them to be like, period, a, period, boss, period, if you want. But they're kind of like the inn. The dungeons just kind of sit outside of the lettering in their own little world. So past that, then I went into, okay, that's the structure, of the maps, how it's going to look. The thematic material, RPG spoof, parody, satire, comedy in general. So that left me with, okay, conflict. What's the conflict? All these bad guys here you're seeing. Where are they? What's the deal with them? So then I got, okay, I write poetry. So I started thinking in terms of poetic rules. And one of the things you can do with poetry is just you create a rule system and then you just follow it. So I thought, okay, there are 3 words in Like a Boss and 9 letters, so I can kind of map the entire game to 3 times 9, or 9 times 3. So there's 27 enemies in each land. 27 to 3 times 9. Plus a 1 boss in each of the 8 areas, well, each of the 9 areas actually. And then 3 dungeons with 3 bosses. You have 9 in 3. And each dungeon has 3 map levels. There's 18 enemies in each dungeon, plus 3 bosses. And, you know, there's tons of different ways you can do it all through the game. 3 and 9 is the entire rule structure of the entire game. So if I'm already kind of bending your mind and making you go, oh, whoa, whoa, holy shit, okay, that's fine. I didn't do it just for that effect. I think, you know, you'll find that having this shit explained to you is why most people that make games and do things don't do it. Because once people start explaining, you realize, oh, that's actually not some mysterious. It's not really as mysterious as it seems. It's just there's reasons for it. You came up with a rule system, and that's where that came from. Sure, you know, it's like people want to believe that there's something mysterious going on, or the deep lore behind the game, or some bullshit like that. It's never as mysterious as you want to believe it is, because to the person who created it, it's just something that, generally speaking, it's just something that either popped into their head or something that has just been floating around in their head for ages that they decided to stick into a game and just not explain. I'm kind of breaking the rule here and explaining it. But maybe you'll find it interesting and entertaining for me to do that. So as you've been watching the gameplay right here, the early gameplay in this, you know, this is your training area. It's basically just hitting the action button until you kill them, and healing when you need to. I wanted to keep it simple early on, the combat, but another aspect of this is that I've never been a fan of puzzles in RPGs. I've always thought they were kind of silly. There's a comment in one of the interactions between Jack and Acid Head's me later on. That's where Jack asks why there's no puzzles, and it's because why would there be? Nobody knew you were coming, and that would be more expensive than just hiring more people to attack you. You know, I've always thought puzzles in RPGs were kind of arbitrary, out of nowhere, and made no sense. So I've never been a fan of that. Plus, this was my very first game. I didn't want to try and do anything really complicated. I wanted something simple, and I've always been a fan of hack and slash RPGs. Because, you know, you just go through and kill shit. I mean, you take out all the fluff of RPGs. What every single RPG I've ever played really breaks down to is that there's a bit of a story, but for the most part, you just go through and you kill shit. So that was kind of the first bit of satire slash parody and spoof, is just the fact that pretty much the entire gameplay and, you know, everything really through this game is just you go through and you kill shit. And everything else is just kind of, you know, stuff that happens to the side while you're going around killing shit. Which is basically how every RPG is. It's just this one I'm deliberately poking fun at it. I mean, it doesn't matter how pretentiously over the top the story is supposed to be, or how deep and moving, or every RPG, like I've been saying, basically boils down to you go around killing shit until you find the last thing you're supposed to kill, and then you kill it. So this section actually came later in the game process. The whole thing with triangles, and, you know, this is an Illuminati joke. Here with the triangles, and then I didn't add all these accessories and the hidden items, although it amazes me that nobody ever seems to notice the triangles. I deliberately put them there because it was so friggin' obvious that it was pointing to the, you know, the triangles were pointing to things, but then nobody ever notices them. I don't know, that's just one of those things. I guess I made it so damn obvious that it's no longer obvious, or something. I don't know what the deal there is. I mean, I actually watched Jack play this for the 3 videos his limited and fucked up attention span could actually handle it. I am kind of pissed off about it. I'm sorry, I spent over 3 months working on this damn thing, essentially just so he would play it. He starts playing it and then just fucks off and forgets it, or abandons it, just because he couldn't. You know, it wasn't what he expected it to be, so that made it bad, or, you know, his pathetic fucking attention span just couldn't handle it, or whatever. You know, I'm not going to pretend that I'm happy about him just fucking off the game like he did. You know, and all the updates. You know, I probably put another 2 or 3 weeks of, you know, several hours at a time, you know, several days, you know, I'm not sure how much it was. A lot more work into making updates to try and amend things, to make it more entertaining, to make it a little bit easier. I put in difficulty levels. You know, I did all those changes to try and make him, you know, basically just to please him, and then he completely fucking ignored it all. You know, if I'm coming across as kind of bitter, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to pretend that it didn't piss me off when he just abandoned the game or forgot about it. And I've tried lots of times to try and get a message to him through Facebook, Twitter, and on his comments, and completely fucking ignored me. You know, I don't know whether it's just my shit's getting lost in the shuffle of all the huge amounts of people that try to contact him, or if he's deliberately ignoring me. So I don't know what the deal with that is. I mean, it's like just when the game was really starting to get interesting is when he fucked off and left it. Because, I mean, the 4th area of the game is where it really picks up and all the really interesting dialogue and shit starts happening. To me, all the best stuff is in areas 4, 5, and 6, and then 9. So, you know, I'm going to have to get off of that, or I'm just going to keep on rambling and bitching. But, you know, like I said, I can't pretend that it doesn't piss me off. And it's like he never really gave it a chance, and he never even tried to get into the game and get into the spirit of it. That's really what pisses me off, is that it didn't conform to his expectations, and instead of reforming his expectations and, you know, stepping back and saying, okay, this isn't what I expected, I'm going to take it, you know, I'm going to, you know, start over and take this as it comes at me like I would any other game. He just fucking left it and dropped it, abandoned it, without ever giving it a real chance. And, you know, some of the shitty-ass games that he's played in his videos, you know, even long videos and stuff, you know, it does piss me off. But I was talking about the combat system here, and, you know, some of the stuff, like, I completely lost track of what I was talking about. I got off on a rant on Jack fucking over the game, and me. But, so I guess I'll go back to talking about the combat here. Was that since the combat was going to be the main, or the only real gameplay, I wanted to make it good. So I put a lot of effort into trying to make the combat as interesting and challenging as possible. You know, to start with, it's real simple, and then progressively it gets harder and more involved, more tactical and strategic. As I said, the reason there's so many enemies is because of the 9x3 rule that I came up with. But also, hack and slash, a lot of it is about the enemies, killing enemies. Like I said, the whole spoof of RPG just really being about killing things. And also, I'm not going to go into that until we get to the end of the story, obviously. because I'm not going to get ahead of myself any more than I have to here, talking about how I created the game and how I came up with ideas and stuff for it. But so since killing bad guys, you know, beating the enemies was going to be the only real gameplay, I wanted to make it important to the game. So I did. It's really tied into the story. It's just, it doesn't reveal that really till the very end. Like a lot of RPGs, actually. You know, you don't really know 100% what the deal is with anything until you get to the end of the story. That's why the end of the story is important, and you can't just fucking abandon it. So I made the combat, you know, my primary disciplines other than doing comedy are horror. My primary discipline, almost getting into Monty Python joke territory there. My primary discipline, other than comedy, is horror. So I kind of did, you know, what's called juxtaposition, contrast. A really grueling, hard, rough, difficult combat and gameplay juxtaposed, contrasted against the silliness of, you know, everything else that's going on. So that was kind of the entire, you know, that's kind of the format of the gameplay. So, you know, that's kind of the entire framework of the game right there. Is, you know, RPG spoof is, you know, kind of the scaffold. Well, no, it'd really be the like a boss thing is the scaffolding. The RPG spoof and everything is the facade, or the kind of the basic structure of what goes into the game, and you know that the kind of horror, survival horror in a way, aspect of the combat of, you know, just really trying to push you hard, especially up through like the 5th, I think, because it kind of the combat difficulty kind of follows a bell curve in a way. You know, it starts off kind of simple and not too difficult, then progressively gets really hard up until like the 4th or 5th area, and then it kind of evens off for a bit and then starts getting easier again. And the enemies, they're kind of hard, but they're not really as difficult as when you first started, or like in Area 4 where the enemies can be really difficult, and 5 I think they can sometimes be difficult, but I think 5 is the midway point of the game. That's more, I think that's about where the curve peaks and things start leveling off and then kind of dropping off. Well, I don't know if I'd say the bell curve. Maybe it's more of a, you know, like climbing a mountain. Was kind of what I was going for, is, you know, but not, you know, up to the point of the peak where it gets really hard, and then, you know, the bell curve again, more along the lines of a plateau, where it starts off not too hard, but then gets really hard until you hit that plateau, the peak, the summit or whatever, and then kind of levels off, and even gets a bit easier from there on in. You know, just the battles are difficult, but not as hard because you've acquired your tools. Which is kind of how I've always liked RPGs to be with their combat. You know, you're starting off, you're supposed to be this a warrior, you don't have a whole lot of skills yet. So, really, once you've reached a level of experience that you have your big skills, you can start really doing some serious damage, and you know, you've got spells and special abilities that give you a lot of tactical and strategic, well, you know, this is small stuff, so tactical flexibility. After that, it's really just a matter of figuring out what works and, you know, paying attention and figuring out how to get things done. So, that's where I really was at with coming up with a combat system for the whole game, and then it was just a matter of playtesting to make sure things were the way I wanted. which took around 30 or more hours. That was definitely the most intense time sink, other than just, making everything, but playtesting everything. And it kind of makes me laugh. People think that it's too damn hard as it is now. It was actually harder when I was playing through it the first time, because I actually had to keep stopping and increasing experience levels and stat levels and things later in the game just to be able to beat some of the enemies, which would have made, makes everything easier earlier in the game. But people always want to bitch. I think that may be the most defining human characteristic, is complaining about things. So, I've addressed all of the basics so far, I think, in this video, other than the most obvious one, which, at least in this first area, is all the Monty Python stuff here. What the hell is the deal with the Monty Python stuff here in this first area, and then after that we can talk about other stuff. So basically, this is another one of the things that's kind of spoofing RPGs, but also adding a layer of jokes. So, because I kind of like working in layers. Because, if I can get away with doing several things at once instead of just one thing, while not necessarily being obvious about what is all going into the layers, then I like to do it. People like to claim they want intelligent, deep games and movies and stuff. Well, this is my way of kind of testing to see just how deep you really are. Because the obvious thing is that I'm just putting in Monty Python references. That's, on the surface, that seems like it's all it is just Monty Python references for the sake of Monty Python references. And to a degree, that's true. But there is another layer to it, in that it is spoofing RPGs, in that every single RPG I've ever played, every area has a theme. Pretty much all RPGs, not all of them, but a lot of them, start off in a grassland area. And then there's a mountain area, a volcano area, ice area, the super technological area, the super magic area with a floating castle. There's tons and tons of them, but it's like one of the most common cliches to RPGs is the lands all have themes. So that's what is going on with like the Monty Python and then other stuff in other lands, is that's actually part of the joke. Is that it's not just Monty Python jokes for the sake of having them there, it's actually part of the joke, is that Monty Python is the theme of this land, the first one. Of course, for some reason I thought Jack might actually like Monty Python and actually know what the hell was being referenced, but of course, no, he didn't. He caught maybe 2 or 3 out of all the ones he looked at. And for some reason, he started cutting out all of the dialogue and just leaving the combat, which made no fucking sense. Like, yeah, go to a stand-up comedy show and cut out all the jokes and just show shots of the audience. That makes a lot of fucking sense. That's basically what he was doing. Then again, starting bitching about what he was doing. So what we've got here, the inn. Again, the inns all have a common theme. They're all supposed to be the same inn anyway, which is they have stand-up comedians in them, and usually a celebrity chef. Although I ran out of celebrity chefs early on, and then switched over to goofy chefs. Okay, I think I'll leave the explanation for the little girl till the next episode, because we're just about at the end of this one and I don't want to get off on another tirade here. All of these little NPCs, if you've only ever played the original version of the game without any of the updates, you won't recognize them. That's because they didn't make it in until the updates. because I started feeling like the top part of the inn was real bare and could use some extra NPCs in it, that's non-player characters, for Jack to interact with, so I stuck them in. And, you know, some of them are references to things. Mostly they're just there to be weird and interesting and to say interesting, weird, funny things. You know, kind of just random comedy. Although some of it is based off of real stuff like this, there actually were people in different parts of history. I think Rome had them. People that were paid to cry at funerals. So that was actually a real thing. I just thought it would make an amusing little NPC thing here. You know, people have... I've seen some complaints about the structure of the walls and stuff in the end. Like I said, this was my very first game. I didn't know my way around RPG Maker as well as I do now. That is pretty much everything I can think of right now. All of the shelves and stuff I added in later, just to make the ends more individualized and interesting. Pretty much all of this stuff on them is made from random generators. Like the candy stuff here, it's just a random generator that throws out random candies, basically. But the thing I love about random generators is that they will come up with some of the weirdest, funniest, most interesting, or just strange things that you could not think of. Because, I mean, they're completely random. You know, like, here the candies aren't all that amusing. It was just something for Jack to react to. Some of these drinks are funny. Apricot Greatness, that's kind of funny. Barbarian's Mystery Mash. Devilish Green Church Tea, that's a good one. I like that one. Diamond Almond Milk, that was a randomly generated one. I think that's a real brand of almond milk, isn't it? Absolutely delicious blend of what? Peanut drink, you know, positive caramel milk. You know, it's just, I love that kind of randomness. Oh, and the magic spells, the random magic spells. Blob of blathering, damned curse of drool. I love this shit. It's just funny. Dispel toe jam and milkmaids. Maelstrom of lettuce. You know, I love that. What the fuck would you use that spell for? The maelstrom of lettuce. Pudding wall, spray of Vaseline. I can't help it how goofy that is. It just makes me laugh. A peacetime comparison of the broadsword and net. You know, there's like peacetime comparison of broadsword and net. There's absolutely nothing about that makes any sense. Or the peacetime comparison of bows and falchions. It's a type of sword. This is the sort of stuff I love about random generators. You could never think of this shit on your own, for real, and never in a million years. The secret followers of the all-knowing star god, or Javelin's wartime use. I love that one. Javelin's wartime use. It's like, other than for track and field, what the hell other use would they ever have, especially in a fantasy setting? You know, it's just, I love weird shit like that. It seems like this time I seem determined to go through all of them. And again, this is also parodying, spoofing, satirizing RPGs, because this is the sort of shit that you come across in RPGs all the time. It's just usually this is just a very limited selection of things that are for sale. In this case, I'm saying, you know, they only have floor models, they don't have anything they can sell you, but here's all this really cool and maybe weird sounding shit that you could buy if they had it in stock. Although mostly it's just really weird looking, sounding. breastplate of dust gush. Ghostly god's contraption of bronze. I want one of those. I don't know what it is, but I want one. Pipes of slime beam. You know, what the hell? Salve of muck assailants. Shuriken of infernal charisma. You know, it's just, I love that sort of shit. I guess I could talk a little bit about the music. I think this one's about over with. Yeah. Actually, no, we don't have time. This one's... Yeah, oh, this here is just, again, putting some little jokes on environmental objects. Creative maters. And here is the finish, so thanks for watching. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.